All right. Lead information is right here to the left. To the right, you'll see this word facilities, and facilities represent meters to us. So in case you had a multi-meter opportunity, you had multiple facilities representing that. You'll see this button said add energy use profile. This is a vernacular to recreating your client's energy bill. And once we do this here, you'll see options to do so. Depending on where you are in the country, maybe it's easy to access interval data, maybe it's not. Those of you not familiar with interval data, it's a granular look how a client uses energy. It comes in 15, 30, or 60-minute form. The more accurate information you give us, the more accurate results. But we definitely have options for you to be able to run storage even with monthly data, and I'll show that. So when we talk about bringing in interval data, it could look like this. This is a spreadsheet. You download this from the utility. Your client can give it to you, or you could get it from a third party. So this is a copy and paste, pretty simple there. This is what we consider multiple column data, and you can see that the timestamps go horizontally. You might run into single column data. And then once again, this is a copy and paste. You can see we have the options asking you what type of intervals are we doing, what are the units, and what's the start date. Now this third option here is green button data. This is just a format of interval data. And then the last option is utility API. As we go through this demonstration, you're going to see we have numerous integrations connecting top-tier service providers to our developers within the platform. So when you choose green button data here, I'm just going to choose a file. And now we're importing that file. We're reading it. You're going to see it's a profile name here. I'm going to call it XML. And you're going to see a drop down of all the utilities in California, because I did build this lead in California. And you're just going to scroll through here. We have over 17 different CCAs loaded into the system as well. And I'm just going to choose San Diego Gas and Electric Common Utility. And right now, you're going to see a drop down of all the rates being offered through this utility. So you're just going to choose the rate. The second you do that, we read that interval data. We recreate your client's energy bill just like that. We have it broken down, the energy based on time of use period. And you can see there's also non-coincidental demand and on-peak demand. You can see these charges broken down. Other are fixed charges, non-bypassable charges, energy demand to get a monthly total as well as an annual total. So when we start modeling storage, the reason I hammer energy use profile, this is a lot of the understanding to be able to choose the correct strategy of your battery, right? When we talk about peak demand shaving, we're going to have an option to target TOU periods or not. And what does that mean? So that means, does the algorithm want to target non-coincidental demand or on-peak demand? And non-coincidental demand means it is the highest average increment pull for the billing cycle. And on-peak is a defined period. So from 4 to 9, your highest average 15-minute increment pull during the 4 to 9 period. And depending on the utility and the framework, these could have different charges. So it could be more economically viable to go after on-peak remaining capacity, non-coincidental. When we talk about time arbitrage strategies, right, that's the difference of energy prices. And one thing I love about Energy Toolbase is transparency. So you could see here, we have the rate schedule name, we have the effective date. This means the last time there was a tariff change. So you could see 4/1/2020 is the last time this tariffs have changed. Our utility team's coming in here, noting that for you. We always default to the most recent effective date. But you could see, you could reference historical tariffs in here as well. When we talk about the transparency, we're actually going to show you how this rate is broken down. A lot of key information lives in this applicability statement. We break down the seasons and time periods, the fixed charges, the energy charges. So you can see here, we're talking about a delta, right? You want a delta for time arbitrage opportunity. This particular rate schedule, not a big delta, right? Between on-peak and off-peak. So I would say there's not a lot of meat on the bone for time arbitrage. Well, go to the demand charges. Man, $25 non-coincidental. This is a huge opportunity for peak demand shaving. And we break down all our rates. They're all transparent so you can see. And another important thing to go over is metering, right? We have the flexibility. We default here, since we're in California with a major IOU, to NEM 2.0. But as you click in here, when we talk about metering, we're talking about what is the value of exporting energy. Is it so, and just so you know, we do have the flexibility to export solar and storage. Depending on, there's only certain utilities and states that allow you to do that, but we've already built for that, thinking that might be an option in the future. So in here, we talk about full retail net metering. We're saying, hey, every exported kWh is worth the same as your retail rate. Non-bypassable charges are saying, hey, retail rate minus those MVCs. Or maybe there's no net metering. Maybe you're operating in Hawaii, right, where you can't actually export. So we would say that is the value is 0. Now, this is all important to our storage algorithms because it's going to make decisions off economic value here. Is it advantageous to export that value, or should we charge from that because it's more economically viable for you to discharge that energy later in the day? So long story short, a lot of framework here. A lot of detailed information here. This is why we do give you a dedicated account manager. We help you, we teach you, and we have the methodology of give a man a fish he eats today, teach a man a fish he eats forever. So we would love to teach you how to model storage, get you very comfortable. And we think this is important. We don't do it for you because we want you to be savvy in front of your customer. Your customers are going to ask questions of why things are happening, right? If we teach you how to do this, you're going to be better suited to answer those questions on the fly. All right, we've recreated your client's energy bill using interval data. I just want to go, what happens, right, when you don't have interval data? I'm going to go here, edit, and I'm going to go through the monthly electric bill door. Okay, now, one, we can work with whatever you have in here. So let's say you come in here and you just know the kWh. Okay, so let's say you enter the kWh. This particular rate schedule doesn't have demand on it. And you see you're just entering that number in here. Well, how a client uses energy is super important to be able to form a battery strategy, right? And in here, we have this energy load profiler. We have 3 different options for you. So we tap into the Department of Energy OpenEI that collect interval data sets based on geographic location. So when you choose non-residential DOE, they give you these 16 different options. Is your client a medium office? And you'll see more of that 9 to 5 curve. On the weekends, that drops off. And this is important, right? Because there's a different value of offsetting energy. And notice here on the weekends, right, we would be exporting a lot of solar here. So how a client uses energy on a 15-minute basis is extremely important. Now, this is referencing the DOE profiles, and you could switch it around. You see a mid-rise apartment, I expect to see a different load curve, right, spiking at night when everybody comes home. But what happens when your client doesn't fall within these 16 different options? Well, we have referenced my own energy use profile. This is where we can morph data into telling us whatever you want it to look like. So the more interval data you bring us, you're actually building your own library, right? So as you go through here, you can see cold storage. And notice here, longer shoulders, right? Look what happens here on the weekends, long shoulders. When we think about peak demand shaving, well, this would be extremely hard to have economic value for peak demand shaving, right? Because if we said that you're trying to reduce the highest 15-minute increment pull, well, batteries only have a certain amount of capacity, right? These have almost 24-hour shoulders with a 2-hour battery. There's going to be no value for peak demand shaving here. Well, differently, what if your client has a spiky load? Well, that would be a great opportunity for storage, right? Because when we think about cutting those peaks of the mountain, right, we want those short little spikes so our battery can cut these off and bring you value. So long story short, how your client uses energy is a huge input in how your battery can bring economic value for them. All right, went over rate schedules here. And once again, we're supposed to just highlighting different capabilities, how we handle data in here. If you want a more in-depth one, come to one of our full demos or request it from Tracy. So I'm going to jump into our proposal really quick, and let's talk about the storage piece. All right, so now we understand how a client uses energy. We got the rate schedule put in here. We've walked you through a 7-step progression, general information. So this is just assumptions you're making. This affects the financial ratios that might pop out at the back end. Step 2, this is our ability to do rate switch analysis. So there's certain areas within the country, after you go solar, you could actually switch rate schedules. Now, one, I'm just going to kind of show you here. This is called the DGR rate schedule, right? So this is a rate switch option from ALTOU to DGR. And look at the rate schedule details. Well, this is different, right? Look at here. There is time arbitrage opportunity. On-peak energy is 33 cents and off-peak is 10 cents. There's a 23% delta here, right? So we can charge when it's cheap and discharge when it's expensive to bring clients value. And here, different framework to demand charges. Look at this, lower demand charges, but guess what happens, right? Higher energy charges, lower demand charges. So what's really cool in Energy Toolbase, we could actually run simulations on both rate schedules here and suggest to you your client would be better off on X out of these two. All right, step 3 is incentives. Applicable incentives based on the zip code will appear here. We have SGIV, all these incentives built into our database that you can pull from. Step 4, PV array. When you come here, just so you know, we have integrations with Helioscope. You could use any solar generation software, give it to us, or use PV Watts. Just trying to speed it up to get to step 5. All right, when you come here for the first time in Energy Toolbase, we'll give you the ability to go through this icon, and this is where you have user input to model anybody within the industry, but also we have direct integration partners. As you can notice, we have, this is what we call public integrations. We also have private integrations, but these are some of the great leaders within the industry: STEM, SunPower, SolarEdge, Tesla, and Chint. And I'll go through what that looks like shortly, but I'm gonna go through the ETB door. All right, so we talked about your hardware characteristics. That's noted here to the right. What is the KW? What is the KWH? What is the max depth of discharge? What is the efficiency of that battery? How is it coupled, AC or DC? What is the control settings, right? Who is the EMS provider you're using? Do they have the intelligence to stack strategies? That means doing 2 strategies, not just one, not just peak demand shaving or time arbitrage, being able to do both. And then you can see charge from solar only, or maybe there's no charging restrictions. So once again, providing the flexibility for you to be able to model anybody you would like in the industry. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here for this opportunity. I'm gonna say I have a battery. You know what, let's use the optimizer. Let's keep it simple. We're gonna just do one strategy. I'm gonna remove the charging restrictions. This is called our ETB optimizer. And what we're doing is running a simulation on different storage sizes. And we're gonna look at a couple different graphs below. Now, instantly we do a 1-hour battery, but if you were looking at longer duration batteries, you just increase that slider right here and we run a 2-hour duration. All these charts will change shortly. Okay, so I'm going to total electric bill savings. Right here, this graph is including fixed energy and demand charges, and you could see savings. This is annual savings, okay? And KW to KWH on the bottom. So if I had a 2-hour battery, right, 5 KW discharge for 2 hours, 10 kWh. And as you hover your mouse over on this opportunity, a 510 would bring an additional value of $1,177. And you could see a nice steady climb up here as you increase the system size, right? You could see the annual savings. Now there's a couple different ways you can use these graphs. Sometimes you could switch rate schedules if you get your client under a certain threshold demand, right? So maybe you want to optimize, I'm trying to get them under a certain threshold demand. Maybe you just want to go after demand savings. Maybe blended savings is the metric you're going after. And what this is your incremental savings from storage divided by the capacity of that battery. So multiple different ways of kind of doing this here. So you can kind of see a steady climb up here. So I go from around $4,000 of savings to 63 to 74 to almost 9,000, right? So you can see a nice steady climb up with this client here. So right here, I go from 11,366 all the way to around 12,400. So I'm starting to get diminishing returns. I'm building a bigger battery, but not really getting too much bang for my buck. So in here, we could quickly input that and go ahead and hit save. Now, I just want to talk through the discharge charge strategy, and then I'll pass you back the ball here, Tracy. So this is our performance card. You can see we're getting $83 of additional savings that this battery is bringing to the table per kWh. So if we took 83 times our 137, we would have $11,371 that storage is bringing to the table here. Now, I just want to show you ETB analytics. This is kind of where we show this on a proposal where you kind of show the before and after bill, right? This is the client before storage, currently paying $45,673. After storage, you can see we got them down at $11,000. Now, behind the scenes, this is really where I want to go, right? We love granularity, and this client was a church load profile, right? So you could see we're spiking, right, and cutting those peaks, peak demand shaving in here, right? And let me zoom into a day and time. Let me kind of undress this for a second here. On the bottom, right, is demand charges. This is the current interval data set we uploaded on a 15-minute basis, overlaying the utility charges. So you can see how this client is using energy. Now, I don't have solar in this one, just trying to keep it simple. And look at our battery discharge, peak demand shaving. We're trying to cut these peaks in here. So we get really granular with the data, state of charge over this. You can take a look at all 365 days, go down to a summer period. So just tons of information in here. Just you could see tons of value of being able to understand how your client uses energy. And just imagine if you had long shoulders, right? We wouldn't be able to achieve this much savings from peak demand shaving, right? So just tons of information feed into modeling storage. It's a lot of information to go over a short period of time. So I'm going to keep moving there. Hopefully that was a little helpful, a little taste of what Energy Toolbase can do. Lastly is transactions. So you can model financial options in here. Oh, let me go back real quick. Let me just model this. So I showed you going through the Energy Toolbase door, right? We have integrated partners. It is the same experience going through each integration partner. It's just calibrated in the back end. So the difference, Energy Toolbase gives you all these different user inputs, but as you go through our integration partners, we worked extremely hard with their engineering team, calibrating our back end algorithms to mimic what's achievable in the field using their systems. Okay, so it is a simplistic experience. You don't need to know all those inputs because we already work with their engineering team. So just to kind of show you, if I went through Chin's store, here's the options. They offer a 30-65, right? How many quantities? What is the control strategies? Right? Very similar experience walking through any of our integration partners, but it's just calibrated per that partner. So very simplistic experience when you work with our integration partners. The Energy Toolbase store gives you all those different user inputs for you to play around with as well. So just trying to provide multiple different options for you to be able to model storage. The last steps here is transactions right into our customizable document templates. So just going to kind of show what that looks like, and then I'm going to pass you back the ball. So this is just a document. So once again, these are customizable, right? Here's your cover page, project summary, so financial highlights, side-by-side analysis, giving two different options. Here's a nice little storage page. So the cost of the system minus any incentives. What is my total demand savings broken down by month? What are my rebates and incentives flowing through here? Here's your before bill. This client was currently paying $45,763. Post project, we're able to get them down to $34,337 for a total avoided cost of $11,366. Now, flexibility, you can show cash flows in different ways. This is a simple cash flow. You can see it's a 4.3-year payback, or we could show detailed cash flow as well. And this is breaking it down. This is more vertical, but you can see what's happening year by year, a change in taxable event on your state and federal level. All right, back to you, Tracy.
All right, sounds good. Let me share my screen one more time for that PowerPoint. Madeline, if you just want to give me confirmation, or Jamie, that we look good there.
All good to go.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, before we get pass off to Q&A, I just want to give everyone who's on the line a little bit more of the next steps on modeling and closing projects using Energy Toolbase. If you do sign up, you will get connected with your account manager, and they will help you get set up with any of Energy Toolbase's energy storage integrations that you want to use, and kind of walk you through how to apply and how to start using those. The account managers will also help you get energy storage specific transactions and document templates set up in your account when you first start using our tool in that free trial. If you are in California, we do always like to mention that all of our 2020 S-CHIP incentives are live and dynamic. That includes the equity resiliency. We have all of those in there for you to use. And then we publish a lot of our own content on energy storage, and it's very educational. We do webinars, we have an S-CHIP guide, we have a variety of different pieces of content you need to know. One we just published was the primary components of an energy storage system that you need to know. It breaks down everything about an energy storage system in depth. So keep an eye out for content from us as well. And before we go to Q&A, again, I do want to talk a little bit about the signing up and some of the webinar demos that we offer. So if you are interested in seeing a demo of ETB, we'll send these slides out so you have the links to all of this to our demo webinar, which goes over that tool, our tool in depth. We also, if you are a user or ETB user, we do have energy storage training webinars that go really, really in depth into modeling with storage. That is very helpful. We'll also give you a link to set up, one-on-one demos with our account managers if you want to. And then lastly, we are giving anyone on the line or anyone who registered 30 days free of Energy Toolbase. When you click on the free trial page, you'll see a little section that says, how did you find us? And just type in Solagent webinar so we know to extend that free trial from 14 days to 30 days. So yeah, we hope you kind of take advantage of that opportunity. And like we said earlier, storage is happening, it's now, and we want to help you start modeling if you haven't already.